Have you ever felt like there's maybe a deeper layer to reality, something just beyond our everyday grasp?
Hmm.
What if ancient wisdom actually held keys to unlocking profound insights? Maybe even, accessing hidden dimensions of consciousness.
That's a great way to frame it.
Today we're doing a deep dive into the fascinating world of shamanic journeying. It's a practice that connects us to these really old methods, but also, surprisingly, offers a very modern way to understand the mind.
It really is a profound method for exploring what's often called non-ordinary reality. It offers pathways for healing, for guidance, self-discovery, pathways that have honestly resonated across millennia.
Yeah.
We're going to see how adaptable these practices are, how insightful. They really do bridge these vast stretches of time.
So our mission today is basically to unpack a really rich collection of sources on this. We're going to look into its deep anthropological roots, maybe peer into the neurobiology behind it,
Yeah, the science is fascinating.
and even look at how it's used today, contemporary applications. The goal here is really to give you a clear, well-informed understanding of this, powerful practice,
Yeah.
help you navigate the complexities, and maybe uncover some surprising insights.
Exactly. And what's so compelling, I think, is that we'll see this isn't just a spiritual path. It's also this powerful psychological exploration and, like you said, a genuinely fascinating subject for neuroscience.
Right.
We're going to uncover how ancient wisdom and modern science actually converge in some really remarkable ways.
Okay, let's get into it. So when we talk about shamanism, that word itself, it's actually a modern anthropological term, right?
It is, yeah. It comes from the Evenki people in Siberia. Their word shaman means something like one who knows.
Ah,
But, and this is important, applying that single term globally.
yeah.
Well, it risks kind of lumping together very distinct cultural traditions. It's really more of a Western academic convention, for comparison.
That's a crucial point. So functionally speaking, how should we understand it?
Functionally, we can see shamanism as a spiritual practice, where a practitioner, the shaman, intentionally enters an altered state of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
an ASC.
Okay.
And they do this to interact with what's often called the spirit world. The purpose is usually to bring spiritual energies or insights into our physical world for things like, healing, divination, or serving their community somehow.
Right. Mircea Eliade, he famously called it a technique of religious ecstasy, didn't he?
He did, yeah, emphasizing that role as an intermediary between worlds.
So central to this whole thing is the shamanic journey itself. That's
Mhm.
the actual method, right? Deliberately going into that altered state to travel to these spirit realms for insight, for healing, for guidance.
Exactly. It's often described as a form of meditation, but maybe a more active form, with a very focused intention.
So you've got our normal waking life, ordinary reality, and then these other dimensions, the spirit world's consciousness travels to non-ordinary reality.
That's the distinction, yeah. And underpinning this whole worldview is animism.
Animism, the idea that everything has a spirit.
Pretty much. That foundational belief that all things possess a spirit or consciousness. Not just humans,
Yeah.
but animals, plants, rocks, rivers. Everything is alive with spirit.
And what about this modern idea of direct revelation?
Ah, yeah, that's fascinating, especially in contemporary practice. It's the concept that an individual can communicate directly with the spirit world themselves. You don't necessarily need an intermediary like a priest or a guru.
So empowers the individual.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's seen as a path to spiritual sovereignty, direct access.
Okay, so if this is so ancient, what does the actual evidence tell us? How far back does this really go? Is there like a tangible history?
Oh, absolutely. And this is where it gets really mind-blowing. The archaeological and anthropological evidence points to shamanism being one of the oldest spiritual methodologies we know of, roots deep in prehistory.
Like how far back?
We're talking Paleolithic cave art,
Mhm.
stuff that's 17,000, maybe even 35,000 years old, depicting these figures, part human, part animal, in what really look like trance states. It's like a little window into the minds of early humans.
That's incredible. And it gets even more concrete with burial sites, right? I read about some amazing ones.
Indeed. Yeah, look at the Mesolithic period. There's a site, Hilizon Taktit in Israel, around 10,000 BCE. They found this grave of a woman. She had physical deformities.
Okay.
And in many early cultures, that wasn't seen as just a defect. It was often interpreted as a sign, a special connection to the spirit world.
And her grave goods were unusual.
Extraordinary, like 50 tortoise shells, a leopard pelvis, an eagle wing, wild boar forearm, even a human foot from someone else.
Whoa.
These were just random items. They strongly suggest she played a powerful role, maybe a mediator with animal spirits, with the spiritual realm itself.
That paints such a powerful picture. Are there other sites like that?
Definitely. You see similar themes, like a star car in the UK around 9000 BCE. They found 21 antler headdresses made from actual red deer skulls with holes drilled in them so you could wear them.
Headdress.
Yeah. And what's striking is how similar they look to the ritual gear of the Evenki shamans in Siberia. It hints at this, maybe shared symbolic language, or at least a deep, common human experience across huge distances and times.
Amazing.
And then there's Bad Dürrenberg in Germany, maybe 7000 BCE, a woman buried upright, seated again with elaborate grave goods. Genetic analysis showed she had abnormalities that might have caused unusual neurological symptoms.
Which her community might have seen as.
Exactly, as an ability to communicate with spirits. What these sites really show us isn't just that shamanic practices existed, but this enduring human need to make meaning from altered states and to give a sacred role to those who navigate them, often people who might seem different.
It really does feel like a universal theme running through history. And a key part of becoming a shaman, traditionally, it wasn't always a choice, right? There's this idea of the shamanic initiatory crisis.
That's right. Yeah, this isn't like signing up for a course. It's often an intense, involuntary rite of passage. It could be a severe physical illness or a profound psychological crisis that just doesn't respond to normal cures.
And it involves visions.
Often, yeah. Visions of one's own death, maybe symbolic dismemberment, and then a rebirth. This whole ordeal allows the shaman to deeply understand suffering, really from the inside out. They become reborn with healing power.
What's fascinating is how these core elements, altered states, spirit communications, seem universal, but the way they're expressed is so shaped by culture and environment, like different dialects of the same language.
Perfectly put.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's look at Siberia, for instance, often called the cradle of shamanism.
Right.
Shamans there are seen as cosmic travelers. The yurt, their dwelling at Central Smokehole, symbolizes the axis mundi, a pathway connecting worlds. Historically, some Siberian shamans use the Amanita muscaria mushroom.
The red one with white spots.
That's the one. A practice requiring immense skill and knowledge to do safely, mind you. And today, you see revivals like Tenjirism, really emphasizing environmental harmony, respect for nature.
And then you shift to the Amazon, and it's completely interwoven with the rainforest biodiversity.
It is a perfect example of that cultural shaping. The jaguar becomes this central, incredibly powerful figure in their cosmology, and the ceremonial use of ayahuasca.
The psychoactive brew.
Right, a sacred brew that opens the gates to the spirit world. Then the shaman uses Icaros, these sacred songs and rattles, to guide and heal within that experience. It's a total immersion, sensory and spiritual.
And in native North America, shamans or medicine people are often pillars of the community, right? Guidance, healing.
Absolutely. And here, altered states are often achieved through non-substance means. Things like prolonged fasting, vision quests out in nature, ceremonial deprivation. The drum and the chant are primary tools. And you see connections too. Arctic practices often share deep roots with Siberian traditions.
It really is a beautiful tapestry, each thread unique but part of a larger whole.
So, if we're trying to map this inner landscape, this non-ordinary reality, is there a common framework people use, especially in the West?
There is, yeah. Particularly in what's called core shamanism, which is influential in the West, there's a widely taught model of the three worlds. The lower world, the middle world, and the upper world.
Okay, three worlds.
But it's important to see it less as rigid dogma and more like a functional map. Psychological, navigational. It helps provide some structure for what can feel like a pretty boundless inner space.
A navigational map. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the lower world. If someone journeys there, what's it like? How do you even get there?
Typically, access involves journeying downwards from a starting point in nature. Maybe visualizing going through a hole in the earth or a cave entrance, maybe diving into water.
Downwards.
Yeah. And it's often pictured as underground, but crucially, it is not a hell in the way we usually think of it.
Right, not negative. Not at all. It's seen as a realm of primal power, ancient wisdom, unspoiled nature. People often describe it as even more beautiful, more vibrant than our world, full of this divine, earthy energy. It feels very grounding, actually.
And who or what would you typically encounter there?
In the core shamanic model, it's considered a realm of purely benevolent beings. No pain, no negativity. It's the main home of power, animals, animal guides, and also nature spirits, elementals, maybe some ancestral spirits.
Okay. And psychologically?
Psychologically, you could say it corresponds to the deep subconscious, Our primal instincts, maybe our connection to the collective unconscious.
Hmm.
Journeying there often aims to heal feelings of separation, reconnect us to nature's foundational energies, help us feel more whole, more rooted.
Got it. Okay, what about the middle world? How is that different?
It's very distinct. The middle world is understood as the spiritual dimension of our own physical reality. The here and now, but sort of the unseen layer of it.
So not going down or up, but
Exactly. Accessing it means shifting perception to see the energetic, the spiritual aspects of the world we inhabit. Hidden energies, beings that coexist with us. You might visualize stepping through mist or a doorway into this kind of parallel version of our familiar world.
is it also consistently benevolent, like the lower world is described?
No, and that's a really important distinction. Unlike the purely benevolent lower and upper worlds in this model, the middle world mirrors our own reality in its complexity,
Meaning?
meaning it contains both helpful, compassionate spirits and potentially those that are confused, mischievous, or even harmful. Pain and suffering exist there, just like here, in both ordinary and non-ordinary forms.
So it's trickier territory.
Definitely. It's considered more advanced, potentially more dangerous for beginners. Usually people are advised to avoid it initially.
Right.
Experienced shamans might journey there for very specific work, like diagnosing the spiritual cause of an illness or clearing unhealthy energetic intrusions from people or places.
Right. Okay, and then finally the upper world. That sounds lighter, more ethereal.
It generally is experienced that way, yes. Celestial, ethereal, sometimes angelic. Access is usually visualized as an ascent, climbing a world tree, a sacred mountain, riding a rainbow, maybe flying upwards, carried by a powerful bird.
And the feeling there.
It's often described as a place of divine wisdom, illumination, immense beauty. Vast, spacious, filled with a sense of majesty and awe. And like the lower world in this framework, it's considered purely benevolent, free from pain. It's often where people journey for profound spiritual guidance, maybe a higher perspective.
So who resides there? Who are the guides in the upper world?
Typically, you encounter spirit guides in human or celestial form.
Hmm.
Think wise teachers, enlightened masters, angels, cosmic beings, deities, maybe highly evolved ancestors. Even mythological creatures might show up there.
And the psychological parallel.
Psychologically, it maps well into the idea of the superconscious, or the transpersonal self, the source of our highest ideals, archetypal wisdom. So the purpose of going there is often to gain that broader perspective, to kind of rise above everyday concerns, get philosophical or spiritual guidance, connect with your higher self.
It's really striking how these inner maps developed across cultures seem to tap into something universal about our psyche.
Isn't it? Does it suggest some fundamental structure to our collective unconscious that journeying uniquely accesses? It's a compelling question.
Definitely. So while this three-world model is helpful, you mentioned it's not rigid dogma. There's more fluidity.
Oh, absolutely. You hit on a crucial nuance there. The reality of the spirit world is far more fluid than this neat three-tier model implies.
Okay.
A common misconception is that, say, power animals only live in the lower world, but in praxis, you can meet any benevolent guys in any of the three worlds. And traveling between realms within a single journey is totally possible.
So the model is more like training wheels, a container.
Exactly. Its main use is providing a safe, structured container for exploring these vast realities, especially when you're starting out. It's not a literal map of some fixed spiritual geography.
Right. Now let's shift to the how, the technology of ecstasy, as Eliad put it. The methods used to shift consciousness. What makes them work?
Yeah, these aren't just random rituals. They're sophisticated techniques that work directly on our psychophysiology, our mind-body system.
Okay.
And while they vary culturally, they often seem to converge on a similar neurobiological goal. They're designed to gently, or sometimes quite powerfully, induce that altered state, opening the doors to non-ordinary reality.
And the most common one, especially in modern Western practice, is rhythmic sound, particularly drumming. What's happening in our brains?
It's actually pretty amazing. Your brain waves literally start to synchronize with that steady rhythm. It's called brainwave entrainment, or auditory driving.
Entrainment.
Yeah. So imagine your normal waking mind, busy beta waves, lots of mental traffic. The drum beat acts like this persistent, soothing pulse that guides your brain activity into slower, smoother frequencies, primarily theta waves.
Theta. That's the state for.
Deep meditation, hypnosis, REM sleep, heightened intuition, access to subconscious material, it's that sweet spot. The drum beat literally becomes the vehicle carrying your awareness, and it also acts as a kind of safety line, a tether, to help you return.
And some people even see things with the sound, synesthesia.
Yeah, that can happen. Sounds perceived as colors or images. It shows how interconnected the senses become in that state.
Incredible. And rattles or shakers, they work similarly.
They do, providing that consistent, entrancing rhythm. Rattles are also often used specifically for energetic clearing. The ideal is they kind of shake loose stagnant or unwanted energies from a person or a space.
And there are other physical tools too.
Oh, sure. Things like feathers might be used to direct healing energy, spirit shields for protection. People create altars with sacred objects to hold power and connection. Lots of physical anchors.
What about using your own body, breath, and voice?
Absolutely. Conscious breath work is incredibly potent. It's accessible, substance-free. Techniques range from very calming, simple patterns to more intense methods like, say, holotropic breath work.
And how does that work?
By consciously altering your breathing pattern, you change the oxygen and carbon dioxide levels in your body. This directly influences your physiology, helps trigger those theta waves, regulates the nervous system, and can release a lot of stored emotional stress.
And chanting, singing, like the Icaros you mentioned.
Yes, sacred chants, mantras, those Amazonian Icaros, the actual vibrations from singing resonate through your body, synchronizing with your nervous system, inducing a meditative rhythm. Plus, the sounds themselves are believed to carry spiritual power, to open energetic doorways.
It's really striking how drumming, breath, chanting, these very different methods all seem to point towards the same goal, inducing that theta state.
It really is.
Yeah.
It suggests that ancient shamans, just through trial and error, through empirical practice, figured out incredibly sophisticated ways to manipulate the nervous system for journeying long before we had the tools to measure brainwaves.
Okay, now we have to address the elephant in the room for many people, the role of entheogens, substances that generate the divine within.
Right. And while, as we said, core shamanism in the West tends to emphasize non-drug techniques for safety, legality, accessibility, it's absolutely crucial to acknowledge that sacred plants and psychoactive substances and entheogens are central to many traditional shamanic cultures.
They're seen as sacred tools.
Immensely sacred, used with great reverence, strict protocols, often deep community involvement. They're not recreational at all.
So we're talking about substances like ayahuasca in the Amazon, peyote in the Native American church, maybe historically, Amanita muscaria in Siberia.
Precisely those kinds of examples, but, and this is a huge but, we have to stress the significant risks in the modern context. This global fascination has fueled things like unregulated ayahuasca tourism.
And that carries real dangers.
Substantial dangers. Physically, people can experience severe nausea, violent vomiting, dehydration. There are potentially life-threatening interactions with common medications, especially SSRI antidepressants.
Wow, okay.
And serious cardiac risks for some individuals. Yeah. It's not to be taken lightly.
That's terrifying. And beyond the physical, what about psychologically, especially for people who might be vulnerable?
Well, for anyone with a predisposition to mental illness like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, these powerful substances can potentially trigger acute psychosis or severe psychological distress. They're strongly contraindicated for those individuals.
Right.
But even in psychologically healthy people, the experience can involve overwhelming fear, intense paranoia, extreme anxiety. It could be incredibly challenging.
So if someone is thinking about this, what's the single biggest danger they should be aware of?
Honestly, unqualified or unethical guides, that's probably the greatest risk. Someone providing improper dosages, lacking the skills to handle a psychological crisis if one arises, or failing to create a genuinely safe, contained setting.
And that has led to problems.
Tragically, yes. It has led to hospitalizations and, in some heartbreaking cases, even fatalities. These powerful plant medicines should only be engaged with in safe, legal, traditionally appropriate contexts, with highly experienced, reputable, trauma-informed guides.
So the sober journeying is a safer alternative.
It offers a powerful, effective, and significantly safer alternative. Techniques like drumming or breath work allow for easier integration back into daily life, too. This whole distinction, really, between substance-based and sober methods. It marks a fundamental split between some traditional practices and the way modern Western shamanism has largely developed.
Okay, let's shift gears now to the experience itself. The shamanic journey is often called a waking dream. What does that actually feel like?
It means you're in this active, multi-sensory participation within a symbolic reality. You're conscious, you're journeying, but you're engaging with this flow of images, feelings, sensations. It often has the quality of a very vivid dream.
So it's not like watching a movie.
Not usually, no. It's more interactive. And the real work isn't just having the cool visuals, it's interpreting the rich metaphorical language it speaks in. It communicates through symbols,
Yeah.
archetypes, feelings, not always a linear narrative.
And a core part of this is meeting guides, right? These compassionate, helping spirits.
Absolutely foundational.
Yeah.
A primary type, often the first people meet, is the power animal.
Not like a pet, though.
Definitely not a pet. It's more like the archetypal spirit, the soul energy of an entire animal species. They lend their unique skills, their wisdom, their protective power to the journeyer.
And people experience that physically.
Often, yeah, in profoundly embodied ways, like
Yeah.
feeling what it's like to fly as an eagle or run with a wolf pack. It's a common intention for a beginner's first journey because they tend to be very accessible and grounding guides.
What about guides that appear more human?
Yeah, journeyers very frequently encounter guides in human or celestial form, especially perhaps in the upper world. These might show up as wise teachers, enlightened masters, revered ancestors, angels, even deities. They often offer more direct wisdom and teachings.
Ancestral contact sounds like it could be incredibly powerful.
It really is. Connecting with the spirits of one's ancestors, whether recent known relatives or reaching back to ancient loving ancestors, can be profoundly healing. It can even help in resolving intergenerational trauma patterns.
And how does that contact happen? Is it like a conversation?
Sometimes, but often it's more subtle. Experienced through feelings and inner sense of knowing, maybe synchronicities showing up in your life afterwards or powerful dreams. It's not always a straightforward chat.
Now, beyond personal guidance, the journey is a key tool for shamans doing healing work for others. Let's talk about soul retrieval. What's the idea behind that?
From the shamanic viewpoint, severe physical or emotional trauma can cause a vital part of a person's essence, their soul, to flee the body for safety. This is soul loss.
And how does that manifest?
It can show up as chronic depression, apathy, addiction, maybe memory gaps around the trauma, or just this pervasive feeling of being not all there, empty, disconnected.
So the shaman goes to find it.
Exactly. The shaman journeys into non-ordinary reality, often with the help of their guides, to find these lost soul parts. They might appear as a younger version of the client, an animal, sometimes even an object. The shaman then retrieves them and brings them back, often symbolically blowing them back into the client's body to restore wholeness and vitality.
Wow. Okay, and what about extraction healing?
That addresses illnesses or imbalances believed to stem from spiritual intrusions.
Yeah.
These are seen as foreign energies or thought forms that don't belong in a person's energetic field and are causing problems.
The shaman removes them.
Right. With the help of their guides, they locate this misplaced energy during a journey and extract it, remove it. Then there's also psychopomp work.
Guiding souls.
Yes, it's considered quite an advanced skill. Guiding the souls of the deceased who haven't fully crossed over, perhaps due to a traumatic or sudden death, helping them find their way.
So these journeys speak in symbols, like a language, but you said it's not always visual. How do people actually perceive this information?
That's a really critical point. It happens through what are often called the clairs, the clear senses. While some people are strongly clairvoyant, meaning clear-seeing, vivid images.
Right, like watching a movie.
Yeah, but others might be primarily clairsentient. They experience the journey mainly through bodily sensations, feelings, emotions, really strong gut feelings.
Okay.
Others might be clairaudient, clear hearing, hearing voices or sounds, or claircognizant, where insights just arrive as a clear knowing, fully formed, you just know it. Some even experience clairolfactance, clear smelling or tasting.
So knowing your own style is important.
Hugely important. Recognizing your dominant mode of perception helps you trust the experience. A journey based entirely on a feeling sense is just as valid, just as profound, as one filled with bright technicolor visuals.
I bet a lot of beginners struggle with this. Am I just making this all up? Is that common?
Oh, it's almost universal. Especially at the start, the practice requires this delicate dance between focused intention and surrender.
How so?
You have to consciously let go of that rational, analytical, controlling part of your mind and just allow the experience to unfold. Trust is absolutely paramount.
But how do you know it's not just your imagination running wild?
Well, the combination of setting a clear, sacred intention beforehand and being in a genuinely altered state of consciousness achieved through drumming or breath work, etc., helps ensure the information isn't just the ego spinning tales. It's coming from a deeper place. Whether you call that your deep subconscious, your higher self, or direct communication with the spirit guides. It's about allowing something beyond the everyday rational mind to come through.
Okay, this is a great point to bring in some modern frameworks. How does shamanic journeying line up with psychology, especially, say, Jungian ideas?
The parallels are really striking. You can definitely see the shaman as a kind of proto-psychologist, someone working intuitively to restore psychic balance or equilibrium in an individual or community.
And the journey itself.
The classic shamanic path, the call to adventure often through a crisis, the descent into an underworld, facing challenges and returning with a cure or knowledge, it directly mirrors Jung's concept of the archetypal hero's journey.
Right.
And it parallels his idea of individuation, too, that lifelong process of integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of our psyche to become whole, to achieve self-realization.
So the guides and landscapes encountered in a journey, Jung might see those as archetypes.
Precisely. Expressions of archetypes from the collective unconscious. A wise teacher figure could embody the wise old man or great mother archetype. A power animal often serves as a symbol of the self, that integration point of our conscious mind and our deep instinctual nature.
And the lower world journey.
You could see that as a potent metaphor for Jungian shadow work. Courageously confronting those repressed, disowned parts of ourselves, the aspects we deem unacceptable. Shamanic healing inherently understands that bringing those unconscious elements into the light is essential for wholeness.
That makes a lot of sense. And transpersonal psychology.
Yeah, the whole field of transpersonal psychology really validates shamanic journeying as a powerful tool for healing and growth. It explores consciousness beyond the individual ego, fostering connection to something larger, to the cosmos. It fits perfectly.
It's a powerful connection. Now, how does neurobiology fit in? Are these altered states just, brain processes we can measure?
Well, the altered state of consciousness itself, the ASC achieved in a journey, is absolutely a natural potential of the human brain. Experiences like soul flight that shamans describe share features with out-of-body experiences or near-death experiences reported globally.
Suggesting a common basis.
Suggesting a common neurophysiological basis, yeah. And as we talked about, rhythmic drumming reliably induces those theta brainwave states, around 4 to 7 hertz. This isn't just some weird anomaly. Theta is seen as an adaptive, integrative mode of brain function. It enhances things like socio-emotional processing, memory consolidation, intuition.
So the theta state is like the neurological doorway.
Exactly. It's the gateway for that psychological and archetypal content Jung talked about to emerge and be processed in a new way.
And the rituals themselves, the drumming, the chanting, maybe being in community, do they have measurable effects too?
They absolutely do. Shamanic rituals, especially when done in a supportive group setting, trigger significant neurochemical changes. The combination of rhythmic sound, focused intention, social connection, it can lead to the release of endogenous opioids.
The body's natural painkiller.
Right, which contributes to feelings of euphoria, certainty, belonging, and increases stress tolerance. These rituals might also enhance serotonergic function, which is crucial for mood regulation and feelings of well-being.
Even the entheogens have measurable effects.
Yes. Research is showing, for example, that active compounds in ayahuasca can actually protect brain cells and stimulate the growth of new neural progenitor cells. There are tangible biological impacts.
So it's not really a case of either spiritual or scientific, is it? They seem like different lenses on the same thing.
That's exactly how I see it. These perspectives aren't conflicting, they're complementary. The Jungian descent into the subconscious is physiologically reflected in the measurable shift into a theta-dominant brain state. An archetypal encounter is often accompanied by significant neurochemical changes that promote integration and well-being.
So shamanism could be seen as
As a sophisticated psychobiological technology, really.
Oh.
Using symbolic ritual and altered states to trigger physiological changes that facilitate profound psychological and spiritual transformation.
Okay, to really grasp shamanic journeying, it helps to compare it with other practices. Let's start with meditation. How is journeying different from, say, mindfulness meditation?
Well, you can definitely see shamanic journeying as a type of active, guided meditation. But the core difference is really in how each practice relates to mental content, thoughts, feelings, images.
How so?
Mindfulness meditation typically aims for non-judgmental awareness of the present moment. You observe thoughts and feelings as they arise, notice their transient, and gently return your focus to an anchor, like your breath. The main interest is in the process of observing, cultivating stability and clarity, not so much getting caught up in the content.
Right, letting thoughts just pass by?
Exactly. The outcome is often a more grounded, stable mental presence.
But journeying is different. It engages with the content.
Yes. Fundamentally, a shamanic journey is intensely interested in the content. You begin with a specific intention or question. Then you deliberately engage with the stream of images, feelings, narratives that arise. You don't just let them float by. You follow the interesting threads, you interact, you ask questions. It's active and participatory.
And the outcome is different too.
The intended outcome is direct revelation, gaining specific insight, guidance, healing energy, answers to your questions, drawn from that deeper source, whether you see it as subconscious or spirit world. They can be complementary, though. Mindfulness definitely builds the mental stability and focus needed for clearer, more effective journeying.
Okay, what about lucid dreaming? That also involves being conscious in a visionary realm. How does that compare?
They are very closely related.
Yeah.
Some people even consider lucid dreaming an innate shamanic skill. Both involve navigating visionary landscapes while maintaining some level of conscious awareness.
But there's a key difference in how you get there.
Right. The core difference is your body state. A shamanic journey is a willed entry into a trance state while your physical body is awake. You deliberately use a technique, like drumming, to shift your consciousness. Lucid dreaming, on the other hand, is when you become consciously aware that you are dreaming while your physical body is asleep.
So awake versus asleep.
Precisely. The journey typically starts with a conscious ritual to cross that threshold. Lucid dreaming usually arises from within an already unfolding dream, often triggered by noticing something strange or doing reality checks.
And a level of control.
Well, beginners in lucid dreaming often focus on controlling the dream environment. But a deeper, more shamanic use of the lucid state actually involves a kind of paradox. Using your conscious awareness not to dominate, but to intentionally surrender to the dream's wisdom, to allow it to guide you, even while you know you're dreaming.
Interesting. But they share goals.
Definitely. Both can be used to seek guidance, healing, communicate with guides or inner figures. Journeys can feel as vivid and bizarre as dreams, and dreams can become as intentional and purposeful as journeys. And neurologically, it's fascinating research finds similar signatures, like a spike in high-frequency gamma brainwaves, suggesting a common ground of heightened, integrated consciousness in both states.
This all sounds incredibly powerful. But with that power, surely there are risks as well as potentials.
Absolutely. You've hit on a critical point. Like any potent tool, shamanic journeying can heal, but it can also potentially harm depending on how it's approached and facilitated. The principle of set and setting your mindset going in and the safety and integrity of the environment is universally crucial. It really determines whether the outcome is likely to be beneficial or detrimental.
Let's talk benefits first. How can it genuinely contribute to healing and wholeness?
When practiced safely, with good preparation and crucially good integration afterwards, the potential is immense. Psychologically and emotionally, it can facilitate deep emotional release, help resolve long-standing energetic patterns. It's a powerful tool for trauma healing.
How so?
By allowing access to subconscious patterns, allowing you to process difficult emotions like grief or shame in a symbolic realm, and symbolically reintegrating parts of the self that may have become dissociated, like through soul retrieval.
And for personal growth, beyond healing specific wounds.
It can significantly enhance your intuition and access to inner wisdom. People often receive very practical solutions to life challenges, gain clarity on their purpose. That direct revelation aspect we talk about really fosters spiritual sovereignty. You learn to trust your own inner guidance system.
And connection.
A huge benefit is building this deep, often palpable sense of connection to spiritual dimensions, to nature, to your authentic self. This can profoundly alleviate feelings of existential loneliness, instill a sense of being supported, loved, part of this vast, interconnected web of life.
And there's even clinical potential being explored.
Yes, particularly with the careful, traditional use of substances like ayahuasca in therapeutic contexts. Research is showing measurable improvements in well-being, increased mindfulness, and promising effects for things like treatment-resistant depression, PTSD, and substance use disorders. But again, the caveat is always the need for extreme care, proper screening, and skilled facilitation.
Okay, but we absolutely have to discuss the shadows too. What are the significant risks people need to be aware of?
This is vital. The very power that allows access to the deep psyche is also the source of potential risks, especially if someone isn't adequately prepared or supported. One major risk is re-triggering trauma.
How does that happen?
A deep journey can definitely uncover buried memories, intense emotions, old wounds. If that happens without a guide who is genuinely trauma-informed and without robust support for integration afterwards, it can lead to feeling psychologically overwhelmed, dissociation, flashbacks, even worsening anxiety or depression.
And you mentioned the risk of severe distress or even psychosis earlier, especially with entheogens.
Yes. Powerful substances carry a real risk of inducing severe anxiety, panic attacks, paranoia, or in rare cases, psychosis. This risk is significantly higher for individuals with a personal or family history of conditions like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, for whom these substances are generally contraindicated. And beyond the psychological, we covered the physical dangers, primarily with unsupervised plant medicine, use dangerous drug interactions, cardiac issues, severe side effects. The unregulated ayahuasca tourism scene unfortunately provides many examples of things going wrong due to unqualified guides, questionable substances, and lack of medical backup.
And beyond the risks to the individual journeyer, what about ethical concerns in the modern practice?
An untrained or unethical practitioner can cause real harm, giving misguided advice, creating energetic entanglements, maybe even opening people up to unwanted spiritual influences if they don't know how to manage the space properly.
And integration. You keep mentioning that.
It's a critical failure point in many modern contexts. Traditional shamanism is usually embedded within a community structure that provides ongoing support and context for these experiences. Western healing models often leave individuals to process incredibly powerful, sometimes destabilizing experiences alone. That's a huge gap.
And the danger of misuse.
Yes, the danger of spiritual bypassing, using these experiences to avoid necessary psychological work or dealing with difficult life issues. And, critically, the danger of medical neglect, thinking shamanic healing can or should replace necessary conventional medical or psychiatric treatment.
So it's a powerful complement, potentially, but never a substitute for professional care.
Absolutely. Cannot stress that enough. Ultimately, the safety and effectiveness of shamanic journeying depend less on the specific technique used and far more on the integrity of the container. That means the preparation, the environment, and the skill, ethics, and compassion of the guide. Get those right, and you maximize benefits and minimize risks.
That leads us nicely into how this ancient practice looks today, this evolution into what's often called neo-shamanism.
Right. Neo-shamanism generally refers to this modern spiritual movement, mostly in Western societies, where people adapt shamanic rituals often without having a direct lineage connection to a specific traditional culture. It tends to be quite eclectic, blending indigenous inspirations with things like personal introspection, psychotherapeutic goals.
And a major stream within that is core shamanism, developed by the anthropologist Michael Harner back in the 80s. What was his aim there?
Harner's idea was to distill what he saw as the universal principles, or core techniques of shamanism, stripping them of their specific cultural context. His goal was to create an ethical pathway for Westerners to engage with these practices, to reclaim what he called their rightful spiritual heritage, but without culturally appropriating specific tribal traditions.
And his emphasis on non-drug methods was key.
Very key. Focusing on rhythmic drumming made the practice safe, legal, and accessible to a much wider audience, people who might not have access to or want to use traditional plant medicines or find indigenous teachers.
And now we see these techniques everywhere in the wellness world, right? Mixed with Reiki, sound baths, all sorts of things. Why do you think that fusion is so popular?
I think it speaks to a real hunger in contemporary culture for something deeper, more soulful, more embodied than maybe conventional talk therapy alone can offer. People are seeking direct experience, a connection to the sacred, tools for personal transformation.
But this rise of neo-shamanism hasn't been without significant criticism, especially around cultural appropriation. What's the core issue there?
It's a central and very valid criticism. The argument is that taking sacred indigenous practices out of their deep cultural, historical, and communal context can trivialize and commodify them.
How so?
For example, taking a weekend workshop on becoming a shaman is seen by many as a profound misrepresentation of what it means to be a traditional shaman, which often involves a lifetime commitment, arduous initiations, deep community accountability. It can be perceived, especially by indigenous communities, as a form of cultural imperialism, where elements of often oppressed cultures are exploited, sometimes commercially, by plastic shamans.
So there's a fundamental shift in focus from community service to individual growth.
Exactly. That's one of the most significant differences. In traditional contexts, the shaman is often chosen by the spirits for the community. It's a sacred social duty focused on cosmic balance, healing the tribe, ensuring survival. It's fundamentally a path of service and responsibility.
Whereas neo-shamanism is often
Typically self-selected, the focus is overwhelmingly on personal growth, self-discovery, individual healing, often within a commercial client practitioner model. That shift in purpose and context is a major point of contention and discussion.
And is there also a sense that the experience gets sanitized sometimes in modern versions?
That criticism exists too, yes. Some neo-shamanic narratives tend to emphasize the love and light, the positive therapeutic outcomes, which are real, but sometimes this focus can inadvertently omit or downplay the difficult, the terrifying, the chaotic aspects of the spirit world that are actually central to many traditional mythologies. Confronting dark forces, navigating immense challenges, that's often part of the traditional path. So it can sometimes present a less nuanced, maybe less complete picture of non-ordinary reality.
Sounds like quite a paradox then.
It really is. Neo-shamanism often arose as a critique of Western materialism, yet it frequently ends up reflecting aspects of the very culture it critiques. It can be highly individualistic, therapeutic in focus, sometimes commodified, and often democratized with the idea that anyone can do it.
So caution is needed.
Absolutely. While acknowledging that genuine healing and profound growth definitely happen for many people through these modern forms, it's just vital to be aware of these complex cultural dynamics, to approach with humility, respect, and a deep awareness of the issues involved.
Okay, so for listeners who are curious, let's talk about the principles involved in preparing for a journey. Not direct instruction, obviously, but discussing the key elements for creating a safe space.
Right. Creating that sacred container is absolutely fundamental. First step is selecting your space. Quiet, private, comfortable, where you won't be disturbed. Physically cleaning it first is often recommended too as a symbolic way to support energetic clearing.
And then the energetic cleansing itself.
Exactly. Using things like sacred aromatics, burning sage, palo santo, maybe incense with the intention of clearing the energy of the space, and also yourself. Then you'd formally create sacred space.
How do you do that?
Through intentional invocation. Calling in protective guardians, maybe for the cardinal directions, above and below. Calling in any personal spirit guides, supportive ancestors, or divine allies you feel connected to. This sets a clear, protective, energetic boundary for the work.
And intention. You mentioned that's key.
It's the compass for your journey. Without a clear intention or question, the experience can feel a bit aimless or scattered. Especially for a first journey, keep it simple. Something like, my intention is to meet a power animal, or my intention is to journey to the lower world to explore what's there for my highest good.
And you state that clearly.
Yes. Silently or aloud, repeating it, helps focus your mind and kind of announces your purpose to the helping spirits you've invited in.
Okay, container set, intention clear. How does the journey itself typically start?
Usually you'd lie down comfortably. Maybe use a blanket for warmth. An eye mask is often recommended to block out light and help facilitate inner vision. Then you start the sonic driver, usually a shamanic drumming track played at a comfortable volume. You just allow that steady rhythm to relax your body, quiet your mind, and begin shifting your brainwaves.
And then visualizing the entry point. You mentioned that earlier.
Yes. In your mind's eye, you vividly imagine yourself in a familiar, beautiful spot in nature. Really engage your senses there. Well, what does this smell like, sound like, feel like? From that starting place, you look for a portal, a hole in the ground, a cave entrance, a hollow tree, maybe the surface of a pond, or spring, something that clearly leads downwards for the lower world or upwards for the upper world.
And you have to consciously go through it.
Yes, that act of intentionally moving through that distinct threshold is considered a really important piece of spiritual discipline. It marks the clear separation between ordinary reality and non-ordinary reality.
And once you're through that gateway, what's the approach then?
That's where you shift from active intention to receptive surrender. You explore, you remain curious, observant, open. Pay attention to everything what you see, hear, feel, even smell or taste, or just know. If you meet a being, you can mentally ask questions. Are you a guide for me? What message do you have?
So less controlling, more allowing.
Exactly. Trust your intuition. Let the experience happen to you rather than trying to make it happen. The less you try to consciously direct it once you're in, often the more profound and revealing the journey becomes.
And the return. That seems just as structured and important as the entry.
Absolutely crucial. For grounding, for safety, for integration. Most drumming tracks will have a distinct callback rhythm change near the end, signaling it's time to come back.
And you follow specific steps.
Yes. When you hear that callback, you first give thanks to any guides or spirits you encountered. Then, consciously and deliberately, you travel back the exact same way you came. You exit through the same portal you entered and arrive back at your original nature starting spot. That symmetry is a key safety protocol.
And then you need to fully arrive back in your body.
Yes, re-embody. From your nature squad, Intentionally bring your awareness fully back into your physical body lying in the room. Feel the blanket, the floor. Take several deep, grounding breaths. Maybe wiggle your fingers and toes. Slowly open your eyes when you feel ready.
And formally close the space?
Yes. When you feel fully present and grounded, it's good practice to formally close the ritual. Thank your guides and protectors again. Release any spirits who aren't your ongoing allies. Maybe extinguish a candle if you lit one. Declare the sacred space closed.
And finally, integration. Making sense of it all. What's key there?
Immediately after returning, while the experience is fresh, write it down. Use a dedicated journal. Write in the present tense, I am walking through a forest. An eagle lands beside me. This helps relive and solidify the experience.
Just get the data down.
Exactly. Capture as many details, feelings, sensations as possible. Don't worry too much about interpretation right away. Just record the raw data of the journey, the reflection on the symbolic meaning, how the insights apply to your life. That can come later. And that reflection, that integration work, is absolutely vital for the journey to lead to real, lasting transformation.
It really feels like the shamanic journey is one of humanity's most ancient, most enduring spiritual technologies, doesn't it?
It really does. Its persistence from those Paleolithic caves right through to the modern wellness industry. It speaks volumes about this fundamental human desire, I think, for direct, unmediated, sacred experience.
Way to find meaning.
Yeah, a way to find meaning, connection to the larger web of life, access to deep inner wisdom, collective wisdom perhaps. Whether you frame it spiritually, psychologically, or neurobiologically, it remains this incredibly potent tool for healing, transformation, self-discovery. It's a way to explore that deeper reality that's always been there, really, just waiting.
So, for anyone listening who feels drawn to explore this path, what are the most important takeaways for approaching it with integrity and respect?
Number one, absolutely prioritize safety and discernment. That principle of set and setting is paramount. If you seek guidance, look for well-trained, ethical, ideally trauma-informed guides who create genuinely safe environments and prioritize your well-being above all else.
Be cautious of big claims.
Definitely. Be wary of grandiose claims or anyone who discourages you from also seeking conventional medical or psychological care when needed. And remember, for beginners especially, the safest entry point is almost always through sober journeying techniques like drumming or breath work. They are powerful in their own right.
And the attitude to bring to the practice itself.
Humility, curiosity, and deep respect. Approach it with an open mind, free from rigid expectations about what should happen, and critically, engage with the practice's origins respectfully. Acknowledge that modern forms are adaptations, often derived from indigenous traditions.
Avoid appropriation.
Strive to avoid cultural appropriation by genuinely seeking to understand and honor the roots of these practices, rather than just using them superficially. And where possible, consider supporting indigenous teachers and communities who are the living holders of this ancient wisdom.
And finally, making it stick.
Yeah.
Making the insights matter.
Commit to integration. The journey itself, as powerful as it can be, is often only half the work. Real transformation happens when the insights, the healing, the guidance received in non-ordinary reality are consciously woven back into your daily life.
How do you do that?
It requires consistent practice. Diligent reflection journaling is key here, and actively applying the guidance you receive. Making tangible changes in your behavior, your relationships, your way of being in the world. Without that dedicated integration work, even the most profound journey can remain just an interesting experience, rather than a true catalyst for lasting change.
It really seems the shamanic path isn't an escape from reality at all, is it? It's more like a method for venturing deeper into the totality of reality.
Beautifully put, yes. And for those willing to walk it with discipline, with integrity, and with an open heart, it offers this timeless, potent means of navigating the complexities of being human, and maybe reclaiming a sacred, interconnected relationship with ourselves, with our communities, and with the cosmos itself.